way, before we start, I just want to tell that this is just a vote of podcasts that we do every second week with DRISOTH and Mo. Give us your feedback, what we can do better in the future. Leave a like, leave a sub, and have fun.
Should be alive like now, but
perfect. Yeah, I kind of just sound like 100 people to you, but surely it's fine.
I mean, it'll be alive.
I just saw you guys in here, and I was like,
send it. Yeah, just
yeah. So I'm like, I'm usually the last one, and I'm usually late. So it's sorry to cut off whatever thing you guys were talking about here.
And we were just like not.
Okay, did you just say usually when it was like for the first time? Like, okay, I don't know. Like,
hey, to be fair, that is 100%. 1 out of 100% of the time, most.
That's a good point. I have 100% top cut rate, so
I'm always late. That's true. I'm consistently never on time.
We're like 2 out of 2. I mean, like some number of seconds that you were late, so like 2 out of 2.
That's true. I'm Mo, by the way, with no E. I'm a new player. It's nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you guys too. Okay,
yeah.
why
nice to meet you guys.
BaJAtak not showing up? What is
it's because you have the like ad to buy turbo.
Yeah, I don't want that though. Okay, we got BaJAtak creeping in.
You gotta click the X on the turbo thing. Can you just X out of the ad?
Oh no.
Oh yeah, I can.
Oh, no,
Jesus Christ!
Boomer.
Not that.
Oh Boomer. Oh no,
Boomer. Holy shit, man.
This is worse than the Mobalitycs link.
Alright, there we go. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Jordan sent a Mobalitycs link, and then Mike just goes, "Can you even copy the deck code from this?"
Dude, I don't know how to use mobile links. That's not even a Boomer thing. Who knows how mobile links work?
Not anyone that started playing in the year of 2020. Passed. That's it. Only people I know how to play in 2019 in beta. That's how you distinguish Mobalitycs.
I'm so. Do you people remember like just how insufferable Mobalitycs was as a site where you'd like try and find like a person and start typing in their name and it'd be like, hey, we found no cards with that name, and you're like, yeah, no shit. I know there's not a card in the game called XX. What am I?
Sometimes you just can't find cards. Was the most frustrating thing to me. Like I would just go look for cards and they just weren't there. And Sarah used Mobalitycs to find cards for all the thumbnails and stuff, and she just had to use like the wiki. Because there were just so many times where they just did not have the card when you went to go search it.
That website was bad.
Yeah, we're so happy that we have so many new websites now, right? Like, it's,
I mean,
like LR is so good, especially Vivo is like, Vivo is such a good guy as well. Like, you just say that he wants something, and like he usually makes it as well.
Vivo is goated, but yeah, I remember the like when I first started playing, we had like MOBA was the main source of data. When anybody wanted stats, MOBA stats are the only ones.
MOBA Premium, baby.
Yeah, and there's like there's this concept in statistics called like internal validity, where if you ask the same question different ways, you should get the same answer. So like an easy like analog in card games is if you say like, hey, can you tell me the total number of games played? It should give you an answer, and it should give you a consistent answer if you ask like, hey, can you tell me the total number of games played by rank? Where you say like master, diamond, platinum, gold, all the way down. Those two numbers should give you the same answer because you're asking the same thing. And MOBA would just regularly fail that. And it's like, I have no clue what the problem is, but I can tell you something is a real fucked if you fail internal validity. Like
some database issues.
Yeah, and at least with like AR, like I've never seen an internal validity problem with AR. If you ask the same question multiple ways, it gives you the same answer. And like,
let's go, Vivo!
Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that like AR is perfect and has like everything like nailed down exactly correct, but like at least we're not just like failing basic checks.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're not doing basic coding failings. Like, surely there's no way a company like AR could pass basic coding things and then Riot can't, right?
Yeah, surely. But yeah, also to add on, like, man, I loved on Mobalitycs there was like the meta tier list, and it was like so outdated, like a list, like it was like 7 months outdated, man. Like,
yeah, I mean, part of that problem was like Mobalitycs was just like entirely run by like Swim, who like. Swim has a bunch of personal problems. Like, I'm not trying to make light of that, but like one of the wildest part was like the community at large was like Swim is this like gigabrain great player, and it's like. That guy was not great. Like, he was a shitty person, but also he just like wasn't that good at LOR.
Like, well, the thing about the tier list for me was not only was it constantly outdated, but it was only made by like Swim, Alan, like sometimes I think like Precipic and Kuvira, and it was like the entire meta tier list was ran by these people, and it was just like not like stat driven most of the time. It was usually like super outdated, and a lot of times it just like wouldn't make sense. Like I remember they put Karma Ezreal at the time when it was like absurdly broken. I don't think you played at this time, Micah. I don't know if you played either, Baj. Did you play since the beginning? Oh yeah. So you remember Karma Ezreal was like insanely stronger than everything else, and they had it at like B tier. And it was just like, what are you doing here, man?
Opinion based, yeah. So it was like so opinion based, right? It was just like, you know, like, I don't like this deck, so they just put it. But you know, like, that's why I was just better because it's just only by stats, right? Like it's stats. Even though they kind of lie, but they don't lie as much as people do. So.
Well, I suppose we should get into the main meat of today, which definitely is the Runeterra Open. So I did promise some malding, and there will be some malding, because I did not have the greatest experience. But...
Where do we even start? Yeah, do we just start with personal experiences?
I think probably one of the better ways to start is like, I think all of us kind of agree that a lot of this was really good, and the like vision that Riot has for this is pretty good.
Yeah.
The vision was not delivered on. But
yeah, I think the vision for the future event sound good, right? Like when you hear what it is and you hear like what they're doing and you see the changes, right? Tweet or like Ruben tweeted out like, oh, this is what's happening, this is what's cooking, as he even put it. You're like, oh, this is like good, but implemented right now and new players trying this for the first time and stuff, they don't care. They're just gonna be upset.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff like play at your own pace, like to be honest, like up until like 7 or 8 rounds in for me, when I started like learning how fucked this was and how much I was getting railed, like I legitimately was like, this is fantastic. I love this thing because like it feels sweaty, which is what I wanted from this. It feels chill, which I didn't think was possible to do at the same time. I played, I had relatively high levels of competition. I really enjoyed my time. Later I found out that I was just getting like completely railed, but like up until that point, like having
the thing is, you thought you were having like the average tournament experience because like that's what a tournament is like you got some free rounds and then you had like some tough opponents and then you're like, oh, and the timing thing is nuts. You're like, yeah, this is like great. Sure, I lost like good players or whatever and had hard players here and there, which kind of is annoying, but it's like whatever. It's a tournament. That's like how it works. And then you find out people like Tank had literally 7 free rounds and then one like actual round where he just beat anyways, and then you find out people are over here playing against 3 champion decks for 7 rounds straight, and you're just like, oh, okay, I take him back.
I love the mood, like how it went from to today, right? Like it started mood, like Apex. Some people made it with 9-2, and it was like, okay, that's actually good. Like 9-2 making it, and then news from EU.
Robomaster is just like, guys, I'm bubbled at 9-1, and it goes. What the fuck?
Yeah, like
I'm not
people
ready
to be think, people to be think like I hit 9-2. Okay, that's fine, right? It's you know, because they saw the news from Apex and then like, oh.
Well, I like my experience. So I got out really early for those that don't know. I went 2-3. My run was not very good. Had nothing to do with the system. I was just personally not prepared for the open. I just had not the best preparation. It was all on me. So I got to watch a lot of the Twitch streams during the day. And I remember I was in Roji's chat when he won his 9-2 game, and he was so fucking happy. And he was so, like, hyped, because he was like, Joe, I fucking did it. He's at first open, and Roji's on a hot streak right now. Like, he, top 16 to Worlds, won a Master Runeterra tournament. He's, like, on a really hot streak right now. So going immediately into top cutting the open, having a good chance to top again for Worlds or qualify for Worlds again, he was ecstatic. And then, like, slowly he started talking to chat and then going on Twitter and then realizing the like realistic scenario that 9-2 is just not going to make it. And watching that guy who is generally a very happy and upbeat person, even like in real life, I've had lunch with him and stuff. He's generally like a very happy go person. He just looked so depressed by the end of it when he realized that he went 9-2, had insane games, and then just like missed out on it.
Well, I wanted to stream it honestly, but you know I had small issue like in that day. I was like 20 hours issue.
Can we go back? Can we go back to when your Twitch ban was like the biggest problem in Legends of Runeterra? I want those days back.
Simpler times when all Twitter was talking about was a 12-year-old BaJAtak.
Yeah, but I like that like some actually it got to good person, like it was like in 20 hours, so that was pretty cool.
That's good.
I don't trust the platform anymore, so that's why I like I started the new platform. But yeah, my experience was pretty. I would say like I had kind of good matches, but then I watched and I didn't meet any masters. So, but I had good matchups, like some real lineups, some like funny lineups. I lost even to one funny lineup in like the opener, but it was just because like bullshit happened. But I was like happy. I was even like it was sweaty and I was like 9-1. I was like very happy. But yeah, like it was good experience for me. But like when I heard like DRISOTH meeting so like hard players and like that, and like some friend of Mo like meeting like actually no one, then like yeah, it actually made me worse. And like I'm not gonna talk about day 2. I think I've played the worst series that I've ever played in my life. So yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've tried to like police some Twitter stuff. I'm not going to try and claim that I had like the literal hardest road because obviously I didn't check everybody and I don't know, but I have had the hardest road of anybody that I've checked. And people keep like exaggerating my run. I hit 5 Masters players, 3 of which are tournament ringers, but I only hit 5 Masters players out of 11. And I did have 2 free rounds of just like nonsense lineups where it was just like, this is not a competitive lineup, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, I saw like Smooth Swallowist sitting there being like, DRISOTH played like 9 tournament bangers in his thing. It's like, not quite. Like, I had a hard
seasonal
row,
experience, right? Like it was seasonal experience, right? Like outside season we had some funny rounds, right? Like usually.
Yeah, I would say mine was probably comparable to like a slightly tough seasonals. It wasn't like a super ridiculous seasonals, but it was like, I don't know.
Yeah, your run, like in and of itself, if people just looked at your run and you're like, yeah, this is what the open looked like, I think everyone would not care. They would just be like, oh, okay, that's like cool. Like you had a couple free rounds, but then you had like competition, like slight competition. You had like some low masters players. You had like 1 or 2 rounds of tough competition against like Majin and Americanas. But all in all, it's like this is kind of what a tournament should be, and that's what most tournaments are. And people wouldn't have cared. And then you like look at anyone except for Micah's tournament run, and you're like, "Oh shit!" What happened?
I don't know. I saw like takes from people. I was really salty afterwards, and it was like I saw takes from people being like, "I mean, matchmaking wasn't that bad," and I would like go look up their run, and there was like one guy who was like, "Matchmaking wasn't that bad," and he played 1 Masters and 8 non-Masters, and I'm like, yeah, matchmaking would have been great in my opinion too if that's what I had gotten delivered. Like,
yeah, I saw a tweet from someone that was just like, "If you didn't make 2, it was your fault. Play better." And I was like, "Wait a minute, buddy."
It was Apex guy. It was Apex guy.
It was Apex, like, and he 9-2'd. I was maulding about that tweet.
I was like, "Wait a minute, buddy." Yeah, let's just compare some of these runs here. Then you tell me, like, I was like, "Look at this. Like, look at my friend's run." And then tell me that this guy played harder and played better than like this person who went 9-2 but hit like multiple at the bare minimum, which is really sad I have to say this, bare minimum is 6 champions in every deck. Like at least everyone else had to hit 6 champions in every deck. For context, I'm sure we'll get into it in a bit. Is my friend played his seasonal run first ever time playing an LOR tournament, played about a week ago. He queued up, made 9-1, was very happy. I looked at his match history. My friend hit 2, so he lost round 1 against a real lineup. It was deep in elites. Oh. The other 9 rounds he played, there were 2 total opponents, I believe, that actually had 6 champion decks. The other decks he's playing against is like, yeah, like on screen here, 2 Jinx, 1 Teemo. Garen, Misfortune, I assume Scouts. You have like Mono, Freljord, Ashe, Tryndamere. You have Ashe. So you have Ashe Noxus, and you're like, oh, well, Ashe Noxus is like a real deck. But then you notice he's playing Ashe, 1 LeBlanc, 1 Tryndamere. His other games are like 2 Tristana, 2 Gnar, Bandle City, Ionia. And then it's like 2 Callista, 2 Zed, Callista, Zed. And it's just these, continue to be these decks that are not even close to being the realm of real. The Lurk deck had like 2 Rek'Sai.
Yeah, that's like, by far my favorite one.
Yeah, like you have the 6 champions. Like you can't even say like Well, this is just a person wanting to play fun decks. It's like, no, these people dead ass don't own cards, man. Like, you don't play Lurk for fun with only 5 champions if you can't afford the 6th Rek'Sai, like the 6th champion. Like, that's just not how this works.
Mo, I get it. Like this 6 champion, like you want these 6 champions, but I think your champion played also 5 champions in his deck.
He did.
So,
Card Gamer is in chat.
Yeah, and he's diamond. That's true. He was diamond, and he only had 5. And he only had 5 cards.
I mean,
so,
really, NA is the clown show region when we let a diamond 5 champion deck win. That's the clown show.
Yeah, that's sure. Well, not only that, we had 2 5 champion lineups or 5 champion decks in the finals. Actually, it's really sad.
Just complete clown show region.
Half of our playing like a diamond, I think, or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Our top 4 consisted of 2 diamond players. And half of the decks in top 4, or not half the decks, sorry, half the players in top 4 brought a 5 champion deck. It's like the really funny, if you want to put it in a funny way.
Like, and then like Aikado, right? Like that's also funny.
Yeah, and then there's Aikado who brought real decks and got clowned on by a 5 champion deck. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, like look at this, man. SI Rise, like what is this deck, man?
I mean,
like,
SI Rise is kind of real, but like not with 2 Rise.
Yeah, 2 Rise, like not even 3 Rise, like man.
Yeah,
it's just.
They queued into the same player twice in a row, which...
Yeah. Also, I found out they queued into their brother later on. I'm not trying to get them in trouble or anything. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't like win trading. It's just that him and his brother were playing next to each other on the phone, or on their phones, and they didn't know there wasn't like same queue matchmaking type thing. So they like went, ate food, came back, queued up their round, and my friend is 7-1 and queued into his brother who was 4-2. And it was just like, why are we hitting each other right now? Like, it was just
speaking of your friend, like your friend also like indicated that like apparently we just had no clue how the tiebreakers work, because like based on all communication, your friend definitely should have made it over Aikado, and Aikado clearly made it over your friend. So
so
who even knows what the tiebreaker is?
In the competitive 2.0 announcement, they wrote down very clearly that the very first tiebreaker determined is game win percent, not total games won. It's win percent. So my friend went 9-1, and his total record was 18-5, which is, I don't know, it's like 67% or 78%. It's something. And it's basically 2% higher win rate than going 19-5, which is what Aikado did. So Aikado went 19-5 at 9-1 and made top 64, but my friend went 19-6. My friend went 18-5 and basically had a 2% higher win rate is what I'm getting at. And lost out on tiebreakers to Aikado for some reason. But then, like, Card Gamer also, I believe, went 18-5. So, like, if I'm not mistaken, and Card Gamer's in the chat so he can confirm, I'm fairly certain I looked at his match history, and he also went 18-5. So it's, like, weird 18-5, he had 100 trophies. So then it was just, like, somewhere the tiebreakers went from, like, 18-5 to 19-6, and was just, like... super scuffed in the middle there, and we just like don't know how the tiebreakers work, because if the tiebreakers are game wins and not win percentage, you will have a very hard time convincing any competitive player that someone that went 19-11, which is possible, someone that went 19-11 is better than someone that went 18-2. Like, you just cannot convince a competitive card player that is how that should work. So
I mean, bro, like, who knows? There's a possibility for any tiebreaker. Like,
who fucking knows, dude? They probably just pick like the shortest people and let them
apparently Floppy made it in at 18-2, so like it doesn't seem to be game wins, but it also doesn't seem to be game win percentage.
Maybe difference,
so,
game
like,
difference, right? Like, you know, you take wins and you like minus losses. Maybe
sounds reasonable, but like, who the fuck knows?
We don't know.
Like,
it makes sense, I guess. Also,
yeah, that's why I want like there to be some sort of interview or some sort of like thing from Riot that just like. We just have these clear answers, not like a roast where we're just like grilling them, being like, why does this not work? Why does this not work? But just questions of like, just tell us, please, straight up, how do tiebreakers work? So we know what to look for. Not because like we have one person telling me it's like game wins. Riot themselves is telling us game win percent, but it's like obviously not that. So like, what is the answer here?
Yeah, like I don't agree with that. Like this was so stupid. But okay. We can maybe talk about the issues later, but I would like, what is like the communication of Riot? What do we expect from them? Because like everything went wrong as we know.
Yeah, I mean,
like what they can do, like everything, like everything that could have went wrong, it went. Like honestly.
So here's my take. I think the very obvious thing a lot of people are saying is don't make this tournament count for Worlds points, because there were so many issues on Riot's end that was not the player's fault. And in the past, Riot has come through when they have severely messed up on system failures, like when they Thanos snapped a lot of matches back in that one seasonals, where people just were handed losses and just kicked out of the tournament. They made the tournament not count to Worlds. So a lot of people kind of like want that to happen. The thing that makes me think that's actually likely is if you go to Dave Guskin's tweet, the wording in the third part of the tweet said, "Look out for us to contact you midweek." And he literally says the words like, "We'll make this right for the players," or something like this, or "We'll try to make this right for you." What does he say? Yeah, how we can make this right for you all in that last sentence. So like, to me, how we can make this right for you all sounds like they are going to take some sort of action, because I think just saying the words like, "Sorry, we'll make it better next time," does not like make it right. It acknowledges the issue, which is step one and very good, but that doesn't perform the action of making it right with players. Whatever that means, like, you can speculate forever, but it at least means there is some sort of action that's going to be taken.
Yeah, the only thing that like people are molding about, and the only thing that I would actually push back is like, I don't know if this is really a problem. I mean, like, problem is different than like critical failures on Riot's end. 9-1's missing sucks. That's a really brutal cut to basically say like you have to 9-0 to be guaranteed. That's rough.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a failure of the system outright. That's just like the cut is really brutal. Like,
you don't think so?
No.
I think that could be seen as a system failure, because like, so let's say that they planned for their system to allow 9-1s, because I think Rumo was like, yeah, 9-1s.
That was the target, yeah.
Right? But like, if your 9-1s aren't making it, that just sounds like your system failed. Whether it's like the players' faults for there being too many players, or your matchmaking system failed and allowed too many players in, like at some point in the line, I feel like your system failed one of your checks and one of your tests, and because of that, the 9-2s aren't making it, or 9-1s aren't making it.
I think it's fine to look at that and say like, okay, we need to tweak some stuff so that we have like fewer 9-1s, 9-0s or something, or like somehow fix this. I think it's fine to look at that and be like, this is something to fix. It's much less of this, like, it's not in the ballpark of like Riot fuck ups, the way like the gauntlet closing early. MMR is included.
That's actually the biggest thing.
Any of these things just being like, this thing is fucked and people got screwed randomly. The like 9-1, like, I feel like the 9-1 is like trivially solved by just saying like, okay, if you 9-1'd and missed, we'll give you mid-worlds points, which I think is 2. Where it's like, we give you the world's points of top 64. And it's like, okay, that's fine. To be honest, like, going forward, I think that'd be a fine solution for like 9-2s missing, where it's like, if you make 9 wins, you may not make top 64. We may not be able to offer you that, but you get top 64 world's points. Like,
yeah. I also personally think, I don't think people at 9-1 missing should be the reason they even take the world's points away. In my opinion, the number one argument for not having this tournament count towards worlds is the fact that their system literally stopped people from playing the game before it was supposed to. That the gauntlet literally closed before it was supposed to. And we know like the biggest case is Teddy, right? Who was 8-0. Everyone assumes he was going to either 9-0 or at the very least 9-1. Which you can say like, oh, you're only saying that because he's your friend and bias or whatever. However you want to look at it, guy's like insane. More than likely going to get his 9 wins one way or the other, but didn't even get that chance. Not because he was late, not because he was lazy, not because he played too slow, but because Riot system just deadass said no and just closed on him and just did not even give him the chance to qualify and earn world's points. And that, to me, is the number one reason, really like the only real reason, like you were saying, like that's the only, like the other things aren't, you can't consider system failures, I guess. But like that to me is a very clear, like your system is fucked. Like something went insanely wrong here. And like an NA Seabass like woke up late and was like, yeah, I'm gonna start playing my gauntlet now. And people are like, dude, you have like an hour and a half. Where like you just don't have time to play. And he's like, what? I thought I had till like 2 a.m. And they're like, no, like you just don't have time to do this thing.
Well, actually, to add on, like Teddy was late on one of the times that we had, but he had 3 times when the gauntlets end, and we didn't have clue what is the right one. So you know, but of course, like it's stupid. I don't think actually like, yeah, this is like big thing, but I say also why I think this open shots should not count is like how many issues we have. Like, you know, it wasn't just like one issue; it was like 5 issues. Like, yeah, like if there's like one issue even like this big, yeah, it should maybe also actually, but. You know, maybe you can skip the matchmaking part, you know, just like, you know, okay, we're gonna make it better, and we're gonna count it, but because of the amount of issues, you should definitely. I'm sorry, Aikado. No, this is not counting. This is not counting.
I think there's also too many people that got involved, right? That we just don't know about.
Yeah.
Like we know about Teddy getting screwed over because it's Teddy and he has a Twitter and he's popular and he's good. But imagine how many other people could have potentially been 8-0 that just don't have a Twitter or that are just like not very popular in the scene, right? And you screwed all of those people out of potential points.
Yeah, I feel bad for people like Aikado. Aikado is like, Aikado messaged me like late last night being like, okay, give it to me. Like, did I get like blessed by matchmaking? And it's like, no, Aikado had like a very reasonable run. It wasn't anything scuffed. He hit some Masters player, he hit some high Masters player. His run was fine. He didn't do anything wrong. If it was possible to like say like, okay, Aikado, you like check all the boxes, you can have your world's points. Like, I think it's fine. He should get his world's points. The problem is like, you can't do that. So like, we definitely can't give some people world's points. And it's like, I'm sorry, Aikado, I believe you deserve your top 4 world's points. Card Gamers in chat, I believe Card Gamer deserves his world's points. But like, the system like catastrophically failed for so many people.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like honestly, like the funniest though the issue was like the change time on the PC, man. I was like, man, because
that was the most absurd error.
It's so easy to fix, man. Like it's so easy. It's so
still there,
easy.
by the way. Like I could have entered your gauntlet earlier today. Like I made a video today on the whole cheating stuff that happened this weekend, and basically just the whole everything that we're talking about. I made a video. And I showed in the video, I was like, look, I'll even show you. And I like changed my time and opened the gauntlet at like 9 a.m. It's just like, come on, man. Like BaJAtak tweeted out that was like, if I was in high school, my teacher would have failed me for this coding or something like that. And I just fucking cried. That was the funniest thing.
Yeah,
like, it's so easy, man. Like just don't do it on Europe and the PC, but do it on server side.
So the most bizarre part to me is like, how did this happen? Given that like Runeterra is like not super localized in like one time zone. So like if this is a Chinese game where like all of China runs on Beijing time because it's China and they do weird stuff, but like all of China runs on that. So if a Chinese company was like, we're just using Beijing time and like you could manipulate those clock, like that would be one thing. But like have gauntlets just been opening at different times for different time zones this entire time and no one noticed?
Yeah, I don't know. That's like, I mean, surely it like localizes it to your computer. I don't know, man. Well, okay, so we do know that like that actually would make so much sense to Oceania, wouldn't it? Because Oceania's open started when the gauntlet was closed, or their gauntlet was like still open by the time the open started or something. That actually makes so much sense because in my head I was like, how is that even possible? Because I don't know. Oceania players, if they started a gauntlet run the day before the open, but didn't finish it before a certain time where like the open took over, your gauntlet
inherited,
run
Fake Hero
ended. Go ahead, you know better than I do.
Fake Hero made like a really like pleading post both on Twitter and on Reddit because he was 3-1 in a gauntlet that ended at 4 runs. It rolled over and became the open. And he goes to enter the open, not to finish his gauntlet run. He was just like, okay, I get my 3 wins. I'm not worried about it. Goes to enter, and it's saying like, you fought with honor. Your run ended at 3-1. And he's like, what? The best part. The best part is that wouldn't even end his run.
Like, that's what I was gonna say. That's the funniest part. Is if you were 3-1, you would still be playing. Like it's not even like, oh, you went 3-1 and just got out, and it's just like, what the heck, man? That's not how it works.
I think he did make it in eventually, which I think was the time of Gauntlet ending, and then he was allowed to enter the open.
Yeah, I don't know if like someone fixed it, or honestly, fire him. I would just like rolled my computer back. Apparently, that's like, fuck, why didn't Teddy just roll his computer back an hour and just finish his last game, man? Like that's what he should.
Nobody was playing right at that moment.
Like, yeah, just like have a friend queue up at the same time, man. It's not the same record matchmaking anyway. So there's so many scuffed things, which I think the most scuffed thing is probably what happened in Europe.
So
your home region.
I would like to point out there was someone pointing out that there were 2 accounts in top 64 of APAC with the same name, which would imply that at least one person did this in APAC as well. But EU is definitely the higher profile one.
Yeah,
so.
the only thing with APAC, people actually tagged me in a lot in it because I think I'm the one that dug up all the stuff in APAC or in EU, which I wasn't. I was just the person that posted it because I have a bigger voice than PissLover64 on Twitch, who sent it to me. Which, no offense to that guy, I just don't remember his name.
It looks like a colleague, but it has a J.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
but you know, I just have a bigger voice than them, so it's more likely that I get eyes on the issue.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, the APAC thing was like 2 people with the same name, but to me that was like, is it one person that just played twice and qualified twice and is now playing twice in top 64, like at the same time, like mobile and PC gaming? Is it someone that like qualified, gave the account to a friend and be like, oops, I qualified twice, like here, play on it? Like, that's such a funny story. Not funny, but that's really bad. Don't do that. But it's a lot more interesting than what we had in EU, and I just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
More than anything. But yeah, that's one thing that happened in APAC. So it's proved that happened in APAC. But let's talk about EU, BaJAtak. This is your hometown, your American pride on the line here. Everyone loves EU over NA. Tell us how EU's open went.
Well, we know about. Okay, we don't know if actually somebody did it NA because we didn't find out. But in EU, we had Detective Alan on the case, and Detective Alan chat, and we found out that I don't know if I should tell the names.
Fucking tell the names.
It's Kuraschi and Iceland that both on their main they get like 5 tribal, I think, or something like that. And then they just went to Smurf.
Kuraschi went 5-3. Iceland went like fucking 2-3 or something.
Yeah, and then they just went to Smurf and they are top. And then Kuraschi made it to final and Iceland top 8, what I've heard. I thought it's top 4. Okay, I was wrong.
So
it's top 8.
The absolute best part about the entire EU story to me is your guys' winner, who
fucking rolled
I don't have it.
Out
just straight up timer abusing. Which, to be clear, I am okay with someone timer abusing. I'm not going to advocate for it, but like it is within the rules. Go right ahead, completely fine.
At least it's not actually against TOS cheating.
The thing that I will say is like I would definitely root against him under a normal circumstance, but his semifinals and finals opponent literally cheated. And my God, if this man beats 2 cheaters to win the Open and gets timer fixed, this man is the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the hero of the story, bro.
Yeah.
For real.
What more could one man do?
But that's like the discussion, like how to punish these people, because I know that DRISOTH is like just power ban them, right?
I am very harsh. Yeah.
Yeah, my solution is you permaban them, like no cap, no joke, no light thing, because you don't want this happening again. And it's been proven in other games that if you take this heavy of an action and make sure people know how serious it is and how much it can affect your competitive career, not just in like this game, but in other games as well, then it really deters people from not doing it. Just as we see in Counter-Strike. I don't know if you guys keep up with Counter-Strike, but early on there was a match-fixing scandal. They hard banned every player on the team that knew about it, like just perma-banned them, can never play in a competitive event again, and there has not been a single match-fixing scandal since then.
You mean iBuyPower, I guess?
Yeah, iBuyPower. And not only were those players banned from Counter-Strike, but like a lot of people didn't want to pick them up for Valorant. For the same reason, because they don't want to be associated with that. They don't want like the chances of that happening. Just like it literally followed them for many years, and just has not happened again in Val or in the CS:GO scene. So
I don't know.
I'm a huge fan for permaban.
There was a bunch of like Magic stuff where like people are trying to rehabilitate cheaters. Like the best example of that would be like Alex Bertoncini, who's probably the most prolific Magic cheater of all time. He got banned 3 times and then finally got permabanned, and like the man just like kept coming back and kept cheating, and it's just like just permaban them. Like if they want to change, like go play Flesh and Blood, go play Hearthstone. Like you can play other card games. This isn't like prison that I'm sentencing you to life.
Yeah.
I'm probably
I'm not like the perma ban guy, because I don't know, it's maybe too hard for me. I'm definitely like praising maybe like ban their next open or something, or just give them like big rounding and stuff. But yeah, like that's the issue. How do you prevent this? Like there was also discussion. How do you prevent this happening again? Like if I play on 2 accounts and then say that one of them was my brother's, that's not against the DOS. It can happen.
Yeah.
How do you actually like make sure that it doesn't happen again?
I mean, I think one, that's like just so much effort, but 2, like you really like you can never get prizing. Like you can actually never do well, right? Because as soon as you do well, you have to submit your photo. I don't know how they do it in EU, but in NA, you have to submit your photo ID. You have to submit your like all this information about you that you just like can't like duplicate or get very easily.
It can be my brother, and my brother actually plays LOL, and he's masters. Like, he was masters. Like, and then like he cannot play open because I play it or what? Like,
so I think it's impossible to like truly prevent, which is one of the reasons that like harsh punishments work, because if you're sitting there and you're like, we will come down with the hammer, and it's like, oh, maybe I won't tempt this. But
yeah, I think that's the answer to just almost every game. It's hard to just stop cheaters. Like you can't like prevent someone like at the chess guy, right? I forgot his name.
Like Hans Niemann,
yeah, like you can't actually stop this guy from cheating if he wants to. Like if he wants to, he can go and he can cheat in every single game he plays. But like even if you permaban him, like what do you stop him from doing? You stop him from playing in like tournaments. I don't know. It's like unless it's literally an in-person thing where people can physically see you and who you are, I don't think you can actually stop them from cheating. You just have to make them realize, like, go through so much effort that they have to realize, like, oh, it's like not worth it.
Yeah. So I'll definitely admit that I'm probably more gung-ho about permabans than is entirely necessary, but I'd be pretty upset if the penalty ended up less than like a seasoned competitive ban, saying like, you can't play Next Open, you can't play like Worlds, all of those tournaments you are not allowed to play. Like, sure, you can like mess around on ladder. Like, I don't particularly care if these people keep their Riot accounts or not, but like, just
I mean, I definitely think there needs to be something. Like BaJAtak said, like, oh, you can't play the Next Open. Like, I think the bare minimum, like the bare minimum punishment that I think is acceptable, in my opinion, to deter, not just like for this person, but it's more to deter others from happening, is not let them play in Worlds. It's like the bare minimum. It's just say like, you cannot qualify for Worlds. Like, you can't qualify for Worlds. You can't play in Worlds. So like, we're not giving you cash. Like basically say like you can play, like we are not going to stop you from playing, but you will get nothing out of it. So like you can play for the love of the game if you want, but like you're not going to do anything with it.
I guess. Yeah, like it's like a discussion, but it's gonna add, right? But I can see what you mean with this. Of course, like also giving the running is actually a good thing, but it's still abusable after, even though if you give the thingy. That's not something that I have issue with, and
I mean, I think their whole system is really abusable at like multiple points, and it's just like if you cannot fix that, if you cannot make your system not abusable, you have to do things to deter people from abusing it, which is the things like, hey, we will like permaban you, we will do like these extremely harsh actions to you. So like you have to really ask yourself, is it worth doing this thing?
Yeah, I can see that. I do definitely agree with that. Honestly, I was like thinking with guys like on Discord, like something that I found out was, how to fix all these issues. I have like easy, fix. Bring up all seasonal. Like
how do you fix it?
Yeah, not like all seasonal.
So
and just every month, all seasonal.
Yeah.
Like of course, like then you lose the privilege of the when you want to play, but the all season was like undoable. Like you couldn't play like on two accounts. Like in the it was undoable. Be realistic, right? Of course, maybe you could, but no. Let's be real on it. Like top on two accounts on same time is impossible, I would say.
I like what's it called? I like quite a bit about the new system, and the fact that like some people abused like how easy it is to like cheat in the new system. Essentially, like it did get easier to cheat. Like you could duo queue old seasonals. Like I saw some takes about like doesn't change anything. You could duo queue old seasonals. Like I don't know how many people have done it. I have done it for tournaments. Duo queuing LOR is very hard. I do not know how many people have done that. Magic you could duo queue because like there's a lot of downtime in Magic, and like Hearthstone you can pretty easily do because like your turns are completely separate. But like
irrelevant,
it is hard to play 2 games of LOR at the same time, and like duo queuing seasonals was not realistically doable. I mean, you could do it, but like Teddy is all of a sudden like a diamond player if he's duo queuing. It's like okay, like.
But actually, on this seasonal discussion, like actually, like it would be that like the issue of seasonals, as we talked multiple times, was the ladder thingy, and now you have actually the gauntlet thingy that actually can like have for the seasonal. So actually, like I mean, the issue was already fixed. They actually
I
had
think
the thing.
there's a lot of not necessarily like I wouldn't use the word issues, but things that could have been better. Like I don't think seasonals had a lot of issues, but I definitely think being able to play your own time is better. I think having to set aside and plan for a 10-hour day is not good. I think sitting there and going 0-1 in your first round and say like, well, do I really want to stick around for the next four? Like, so let's say you get 0-2'd in like 10 minutes. Then you have to decide like, okay, do I really want to sit around for the next 55 minutes to potentially play like every single game from now on? Whereas now, if I get 0-2'd in like 10 minutes, I can just queue up my next game, or I can take a break for 5 hours and be like, no, I'm not feeling it right now. Let me come back. Like, let me go get lunch. Let me go like do all this other stuff. Like, you can kind of like just completely shift your mental before heading into your next round.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I think
I played absurdly slowly. I think I took more time to finish my run than I do seasonals, because seasonals is like pretty easily 9.5 hours, nothing. And I think my run to start to finish was like 11 or 12 hours. Like I wasn't playing the entire time. I was just like play around, like go do chores for a bit, play around, cook, play around, go do chores.
But
And
your
I just
breaks
kept
are still,
doing it.
and that you know you don't have to like. Also, it was like honestly like it's kind of discussion about like Twitch streamers, like how it like depend, because it was like cool time though, like in seasons that like everyone was watching everyone, right? We had the breaks, then the loops of like me watching somebody that watching somebody that
Yeah.
watching somebody. That was like pretty cool, but kind of I miss it, but it's still like doable with these opens.
yeah, like I was gonna do it. Like I just like had like an official watch party type thing on day one, but I already had it planned where I was going to do my run like immediately, and then as soon as I was done with my run, basically just sit there and have a hub and keep track on everyone and just be like, oh yeah, let's like switch to this person, see how their run's doing. Let's switch to this person. Unfortunately, like I don't say unfortunately, but like Aegis already had it set up with like much better stuff going on, so like we still have that. It just wasn't ran by streamers. It was more ran by like
Yeah,
I guess
that
like a
EU
company
thingy.
type thing.
You didn't have cast it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
we had like 7 streamers. I got knocked out first, so we like had 6 then. But
I think though,
in top 8 we lost ZZU, that was last streamer, and then we had nothing. Last we saw final because Steady was streaming his Discord call with Kuraschi.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And that's something that should not happen ever again. I know that Ice-T is working on it to getting the actual like the accounts and stuff, so hopefully it's never gonna happen. But that's just so fair, like that nobody actually got these accounts. Nobody could have done it in EU, even though APEC and NA had it. So like it wasn't like that.
I think that's more of just like a your region thing. Like I don't even know if that's a Riot's fault. I think that's deadass just whoever your broadcast talent's fault is. Like because we had like Wisdom. So anytime Riot didn't want to do a stream or anything for LOR, Wisdom literally went to them and said like, no, like we can do a stream. Like give us like any amount of money basically. Like let's agree on like this is the minimum. And then like we'll do your content for you. And that's why NA always had a stream. We always had stuff, even if you don't remember, but like the first seasonals, like EU didn't have day one streams. EU didn't have like Swiss streams, but like NA did. And that's because our like talent producer or whoever like went to Riot and said like, no, we can do this thing. Like and like essentially not obviously they didn't force Riot into doing it, but made them not have an actual reason to not do it. Yeah. And I don't know what EU's who your talent person even is. And if they just like don't do that, then that's fully on like whoever your person is, and you guys should definitely go and talk to them.
I think EU is like a lot more fractured because like a bunch of Riot stuff works a lot better in like the SEA region and also the Americas region because like Riot's headquarters is in America, and so like there are big companies that have like very specific interactions with Riot because there's like one central entity to talk to. In Southeast Asia is a lot of the same thing with like the Korean area of like there is one big Riot office that you go talk to, and I believe Europe like doesn't have anything like that. Like
what I know that like EU has like every country has like its own routers or something. I have no clue who's my router. I tried to find out, but I didn't find out. So, but I know that for example German routers was active a lot and was having like the early access and everything. But I said I didn't ever talk like to the animated routers. I have no clue.
It definitely like varies by country. I mean, the like easy joke to make, which I don't think EU people are gonna get, but so like you know the fist bump card back of like some Rioter like had a positive interaction, they give the fist bump card back. I've jokingly referred to that as the Brazil flag card back, because like if you're a Brazilian content creator, you got the fist bump card back. Like that Rioter is on point.
I had to make a tweet, so Jules actually said it. It was after it was like 5 months ago because I played on both worlds and I made like tweet. Well, I don't have it on my main account, so I guess I have to qualify again so I can play it for the 3rd time. So, you know.
Yeah, I don't have one. I mean, I don't know if that's like actually a failing. I wouldn't call myself a particularly large content creator.
But you have the hoodie though, don't you?
The what?
The hoodie.
Oh, I do have the hoodie. Yeah.
I don't. So.
It doesn't. What?
No.
Man, this is so weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Riot's contacts is kind of get everywhere, but
I mean,
like
as far as like Riot stuff, I don't think anything is worse than like the LPP, which I will very clearly stress.
Hold up. Wait a minute. What's wrong with LPP? LPP is great. What?
So I will specifically stress this has nothing to do with the LOR team because LPP got frozen because like the league people wanted to rebuild it and then it just didn't ever change. Yeah. And so like LOR is sitting here being like, we'd really like to like add some content creators to our program, and it's like, well, LPP's frozen, can't do anything. They're like, thanks.
Yeah, they like let in one wave of LPP members, and I was in that. And then since then, they added like 2 people that I don't think they ever officially announced because technically LPP has been closed the whole time. But they did add 2 people to LPP.
I mean, I suppose that's a positive, but yeah, like Ikato is like still missing LPP, and it's like.
Okay, but to be fair, like Ikato is probably like the biggest brand risk LOR has for LPP. Like,
okay,
come on.
Okay,
like no offense
Sunny.
to Ikato. I think Ikato, if he had like, okay, Sunny 100%, but that's also not in it. But like deadass, no meme. Ikato outside of Xenaton is the biggest brand risk.
Xenaton is definitely the biggest brand risk. My God, like. There was a joke about like Nora in a jar with that like copy pasta thing that came out of Xenaton, and I was just like, I think he was one of the first people I muted on LR Twitter because I just saw that tweet and I was like, not interested. Never show me this again.
Yeah. No, there's definitely like the thing is like Riot puts a lot of content creators like on their streams at Riot headquarters. And they've definitely said before where like they'll put someone up there and they'll start like saying stuff or have like colorful deck names or stuff like that. And then just be like, yeah, we just like can't. Like, we're just going to take you off of our streams here. Because they put on like big ass televisions.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we're just going to like take you off of here and put someone else on. And I'm just like, yeah, I can imagine if you don't even qualify to be put on like Riot like televisions, you probably aren't gonna be put on their brand.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
so
most of the drama, I guess.
I can go over Kuraschi's response of like, I didn't know. If you want to touch briefly on that, does that matter?
I mean, we can like talk about it, but I think that's like, I do not believe that he didn't realize that this was wrong. Mm-hmm. I can believe him thinking this isn't that big of a deal, but like, you knew this wasn't allowed.
Yeah, I don't think you can actually ever convince me that you don't know you're not allowed to play on 2 accounts. Like, you literally, the only way I could ever be convinced would be some like extremely specific case of like someone who can't read, who doesn't like speak the language, who just like clicked around and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, someone who speaks a
would have to be like ridiculous.
Someone who like only speaks a language that like Riot literally doesn't translate to.
Yeah,
like,
so
you're talking
like,
some
like, oh, why?
Yeah, some subvariant of Indian or something where it's like.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh, I can't play anymore. Like, I guess I'll try my other account. Like, why can't I play anymore? Type thing.
But like,
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
You'd also have to like, I don't know, the fact that he has a Twitter, like, if you use Twitter, like, I'm confident you saw enough to know that you're not allowed to do that.
There was like only one tweet though, like that was just one tweet from Urban. Like, you could have missed it, like, to be honest. I think I missed it even, like, I just got it like, yeah, like a week ago or something when this was asking, like, yeah.
If nothing else, I would point to, like, the vast majority of people didn't do that because, like, it's pretty intuitive that that isn't allowed. Like,
so majority of people don't have 2 accounts, so like. Like I of course have like an NA. It's obvious that I cannot play on NA, right? Like that's also a thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I understand the take of like I didn't think it'd be that big of a deal. I think the take of like I didn't know it was bad or I didn't know I couldn't do it is like incredibly not true. Like I don't think you can convince anyone that that's true. But I can definitely understand him being like, oh, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, or like I assumed other people did it, or I assumed, whatever. Like stuff like that I can understand, but not the tweet of like.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely believe like the take that people have about super scouting, where like super scouting is not allowed. To be clear, you're not allowed to do that. Definitely not in a tournament. But like, I remember watching Alan's stream, and Alan was very much like, you should be aware of this, and you should be aware that like people will do this. And I could definitely see someone being like, well, I'm going to do it because like my opponents also will. And I could definitely see Kuraschi basically saying like, I'm going to do this because I believe this is a widespread thing that is occurring. I just do not believe that he didn't know that this wasn't allowed.
True. I can see that.
Speaking of the seasonals, though, we can go on like a more brighter topic and talk about like the winners. I guess mostly NA. EU was super fucking scuffed. APAC was like,
APAC was fine. RPG
EU was like not worth talking about.
RPG did pretty well. I mean, I don't know. Like, RPG is very strong, and I'm not trying to sit here and say like RPG sucks. That is not my take. But I do find this particular round of RPG goated thing a little frustrating, where it's like, okay, RPG is also like one of the only groups of people that didn't just get like a bunch of people hoed by matchmaking.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they definitely didn't have like 100% day 2 rate. They still did well, and they did well in day 2 despite hitting like multiple good players. I think if I looked back at the Rocket bracket, Floppy had like the easiest road to first, because every time he could have potentially hit someone that was difficult, they lost.
I don't. I don't really want to have the take of like RPG only succeeded because stuff was easy.
Oh, for sure.
I would more push the take of like RPG did succeed, but I think other people also might have, but they didn't have the opportunity. So
yeah, I think that's a very good take. I think like the biggest question, I guess for me, that a lot of people also have kind of like asked me constantly is like, why are they so good? And like, do you think LOR is going to become a team game in the future? I said this like a year ago. I said that LOR is going to become a team game in like the sense of the top players will all be on some sort of team, either not necessarily the same team isn't what I meant, but like I thought like Runeterra was going to be a team like a long time ago, and then I heard about RPG, and obviously they started doing well, so I was like, oh yeah, like Runeterra is a team, RPG is going to be a team, so like this place is going to be dominated by teams, just like Magic the Gathering is, where like good players practice well together, like just level up past the just normally good players. And we're kind of seeing that, except for the fact that there's no competition. It's literally just RPG. And not even just this last seasonal, because you guys like, oh, it's kind of scuffed. But even before that, we saw that they were still just like dominating everybody because of how they're practicing. So it's like, do other people need to do this? And if not, what would it take to like get to that level?
I mean, I think America, like I made this take after Worlds because like the America shard just like shat the bed, and it was like particularly frustrating with like Brazil. Brazil really did this where they were like, America shat the bed. Brazil dominated. And it's like, my brother in Christ, like, we mopped the floor with you in the opens and then shat the bed. Like, you also would have shat the bed. This entire shard sucks.
Yeah.
Like, get on board.
To answer like more, like, you need to be like, to be honest, you need people to work with if you want to succeed.
We don't
like you need somebody else's opinion. You need to be talking with him. You need to be like seeing different direction. It's doable to be like alone. Of course, it's doable. For example, I think Alan is a lot of like doing alone, for example, and stuff. But you usually need some person to like also say you maybe having this insane minute on ladder because the way how to practice is on ladder, right? And then you're like you go into scripts and you're like no.
America's has good players, but we don't convert them. Like I think the shard is fine at producing.
What do you mean we don't convert them? Like what do you mean we don't convert them into like better like top players?
Yeah, so like we have ladder ringers, and then it's like, how do we get a ladder ringer to win tournaments? And like we don't do that.
Yeah. Like, well, I think the thing is like I think the main question is like, do they want to? Because I've worked with, and you've worked with, because we've worked together a lot with people that have tweeted and said the words like, "I want to be the best in the world," or like, "I have the drive. I want to do this." We form a group with them to practice and prep for Worlds or prep for whatever tournament, and then they like don't say anything for 2 months. Or they like only say garbage, or they just like try and waste people's time, and you're like, no, you don't, man. And then you call them out on it, and they have this ego of like, no, man, I'm a good player, like I'm top whatever, and you're just like, okay, sure, like you continue to be your good player. If you're not gonna help us, go away. Like if you're not gonna be part of this team and like put in this amount of work, then like leave, go do your own thing, and then come back when you're like a better player and like do what you want to do.
I don't know, like RPG, at least, I don't know, if nothing else, RPG is a good LR team. That's like not what I'm trying to say. But like RPG's best success is herding goddamn cats. Because like working with card game players, not the player card gamer, people who play card games.
Yeah.
They're fucking worthless. I hate them.
Yeah.
I am them. I'm also this problem. But like you're just sitting here and you're like,
yes.
Can you stop lying for like 10 minutes? Like
yeah, I said this on my stream earlier today where it's like, I've worked with many card gamers. I've tried to work with card gamers, and they are the worst people to work with. And there are so many people, you just have to disregard everything they say because it's useless. It's just like not true information, and it's time-wasting information. And just communication as a base level is not a skill a lot of people that a lot of people that are attracted to card games really have. I think the stereotype for card gamers are usually, kind of awkward, maybe nerdy, sometimes outcast. And most of those people don't have good communication skills. So trying to get those people to work together and form all these like ideas, like it just doesn't work. There are so many times I try to talk to card gamers and they just like are so hyperbolic, or they're so aggressive, or they're just like don't want to change their mind. Like even the ones that you can work with, that you can talk to, don't want to change their mind a lot of times. Like fucking Micah never wants to change his fucking mind.
Correct.
Like I tell him anything and he's like, no, if this deck doesn't like do this, then like I don't want to play it. And I'm like, that's not how that works. I was like, that's just not how that works. And he's like, yeah, but I'm gonna play it. And then it's just like
trying to get me to change an opinion is very difficult. I am not trying to sit here and say that I'm better about it, but like the number of times that I've been like, I earnestly tried to work with this, and I was just like, okay, so you're telling me this deck is good. What are its bad matchups? Because like maybe this deck is good. What are its bad matchups? They're like literally nothing. It beats everything.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they're like
you're
nothing.
lying. Like
yeah. And then I just like as soon as someone says that to me, I disregard everything they say because I'm like, that's not useful. And there are plenty of people like that, or they'll tell you like, oh, the bad matchups are like kind of this, I guess, and it's like a 80-20 matchup. And you're like, yeah, no shit, that's a bad matchup. But like we'll say like Sundisk into like Old Burn or something, right? Like that was an atrociously bad matchup. So I'll be like, oh, Sundisk, I guess it loses to Burn sometimes, but it's like kind of close. And you're like, if that's the only thing you come up with a bad matchup, and that's an 80-20 matchup, and you're trying to sell it to me as like kind of close, we cannot talk right now. Like that.
Are we talking about Alan, by the way, here?
I mean, Alan definitely does this. I mean, I have made the comment. I have made the comment about Alan that I do not believe there is a person in LOR with a greater delta between takes and quality of player than Alan. Because Alan is a cracked player and has like actual iron tier takes. Like, what the fuck are those takes?
Yeah, I think
Ari needs a buff.
I think even between like just card gaming talks of like specific decks, just sometimes trying to talk to people in general is very hard because they just like jump at everything. Like I put on like a very big persona a lot of times when I'm like talking with people or hanging out with people when I'm streaming, where I'm just like this really like loud person, talk over everyone and just say like funny things that make no sense. Like anytime I'm on someone else's stream, I'll say things that make no sense because it's funny and because I like making chat react. That's what I do. But there are people that like unironically do that stuff, and it makes it so fucking hard to talk to them that I just like can't. And I'm just like, okay, man, like you talk at me and then I'm gonna go play the good decks. Like I'm not gonna deal with your like tier 6 beats nothing like horrible build. Maybe refine it a little bit more. Show me something more than like a 10 ladder game sample size. Beat me in scrims with it more than like 2-5, and then say, oh, well, you high rolled me those other 3 games, and like maybe we can talk.
For what's it called? For a good example of this and like the problem that occurs, I was basically sitting here and saying that like Jack Seraphine was a bad deck, and I will admit, 2 people came back and like actually backed up their claim. They were Ikato and BaJAtak. Congratulations, you 2 actually backed up your take that this deck was good. And there were a bunch of people that were like, skill issue. And I like look up their stats and I'm like, you are 55%. Like, my brother in Christ.
Yeah.
This deck is bad.
I like insane numbers with Seraphine.
Yeah, like, you had good win rates, and like, if you push back on the take that this deck was bad, fair. Like, you're winning with it. Like, completely reasonable to push back. Icado pushing back, I get it. There were a bunch of people that were like, check out my banger win rate. And I'm like, you could probably go 65% with a ham sandwich, and you're going 58%. Yeah. Like, this deck sucks.
But also, when I think about the deck more, like, I think the worse the opponent is, the better Seraphine is.
Yeah, probably. That deck was
because like people don't know how to play against Bibi. Like people single combat think, you know, they have Seraphine and Bibi on both, like on unleveled Seraphine, and they're like single combating my Seraphine, and I'm like, what? Okay, I guess I know.
I mean, it just strikes me as one of those decks where good players, like the top players, will do really well with it, especially on like ladder, because it is just a noob stomper. It's just like it beats players that are playing cards that just like click the OK button, that click their card button, that like don't really know the matchup 100%. If you don't know the matchup 100%, you'll run into a lot of traps, and then good players are good at setting traps. So like you're good at beating them. Does that make the deck good? No. That means that you are playing a like tier 2 deck, like well enough to trap these people. Fun fact, you could just be playing Samira Fizz and like be doing twice as better. And like you could just be playing these like very top like Samira decks and these like really, really good decks, still setting traps and still doing everything you're doing now, but just like get automatic free wins so many times more.
I cannot tell you how frustrated it was to like watch Samira Fizz. A bunch of people brought Samira Fizz with monkeys and 0 heavy metals, and then RPG shows up with 2 fucking weapon decks. And I was like, if you just play 3 heavy metals, these decks are fucking free. But you're sitting here and you're like, well, the heavy metal's kind of mid if I'm not playing against a weapon deck. And it's like, yeah, if they're not playing a weapon deck, you beat their ass because their deck is broken as fuck. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think
very frustrating.
I think there's a lot of miscommunication amongst people that are just very like results based. They say like, oh, this like deck did good in a tournament, so I'm going to take this exact 40 cards and not change it and play it or something. Or like someone else says like, oh, I had well on ladder with these 40 cards, and like so I'm just going to play it. And you can't really do that. Like you have to realize why some cards are in your deck and say like, yeah, is this card useful like 70% of the time? No, but 30% in the bad matchups, it's great. Like Hex Obliterator is a horrible card. Yeah. Hex Obliterator sucks ass. But you need Hex Obliterator to beat all of your bad matchups with like Karma Sett. Because what are your bad matchups in Karma Sett? It's usually like really big things like Leona. Fun fact, it kills Leona. It kills Ravun. It kills like Garen. It kills Jarvan. It kills BBs. Like it kills all of this stuff in like one hit that if you don't play Hex Obliterator is a really bad matchup for you. But because you're playing this bad card, sometimes it will screw you over because you don't really need it. But in those bad matchups, it's fucking insane. It can carry you.
Something that people like not thinking about, like sometimes you just don't play some card in tournament because you know you're gonna ban the deck that it is good enough.
I did.
And that, like the deck building is then completely different because you're just not playing this card because on ladder you have to be counted with your bad matchup. But if you know you're gonna ban it, then you don't have to be counted. With
it. I did that with in the tournament where like with Karma I had a singleton Caustic Growth. Like I was just like I am banning Samira Fizz if I ever see it. So like why am I playing Caustic Growth?
Yeah, same. I did the same thing, and people are like, "One Caustic Rift, Keck W, you don't know what you're doing." And I'm like, "Dude, shut up." I was like, "Just keep watching." I was like, "You don't know." I was like, "Why do I need Caustic Rift?" They're like, "Because I beat Samira Fizz players. They're all 2-1 elusives." And I'm like, "Cool. I'm banning Samira Fizz every game. Why do I need Caustic Rift?" And they're just like, "Oh." Like, yeah, okay, shut up. I was like, "That's not how that works." And people just don't. I feel like a lot of people don't look at things with like a wider lens, or look at things or like they don't ask questions. Why are you doing this? And then try and answer it for themselves. They just immediately say, "You're not doing the thing I do, or you're doing something I think is bad. Therefore, it must be bad." And you're just like,
so true, okay, so true. Like
all this other stuff. Caustic Grip OP must run in all 3. Yeah, 3 in all decks. Yeah, if Caustic Grip was so good, then why didn't it win? Open, got him.
I do have like 900 LP, but I don't know. LP is kind of free right now, so.
No, ladder doesn't work. I don't think ladder works, man.
You played 10 games, man. You played 15 games of ladder.
Okay, but I'm still getting past 15 minutes 28. I don't like it, so yeah, I don't like.
That's like how much LP? Micah, how much LP are you getting?
I'm getting plus 15 minus 28. Like,
And how much LP are you at?
907, I think.
And BaJAtak, what are you getting?
Plus 15 minus 28.
And how much LP are you at?
I think 400 now.
Oh, okay. So the difference here is that he's getting plus 15 minus 28, but you're also getting plus 15 minus 28. So what's the issue here?
I will say, like, LP gains are weird. Like,
have you seen Pros with 50% win rate on EU Lighter that's above me?
I have not seen
2,000 games played, man. He has 2,000 games played. That's why.
He has 50% win rate.
Because he has 2,000 games played. You have 10, man. You haven't even played the season. That's your LP from last season. They carried over. Like, you don't even play LOR. Okay. Like, the guy has 2,000 games. Yeah, I think it's okay if you play 2,000. Fuck, if Kawago's above me by 100 LP, but he has 10,000 games played, I say, yeah, man, I'll give you the 100 LP if you go outside. Like, I will donate you 100 LP. Go outside, man. Don't play another 1,000 games.
Touch
like,
grass.
if that's what you want, BaJAtak, if you want that 55% win rate, go for it. If it requires do you actually want that 55% win rate, 400 LP, if it required you to play an extra 2,000 games?
I remember looking at the graphs that I made of like all the ladder players. And I remember every server, like it wasn't just Americas, it wasn't just UMA, it wasn't just APAC. Every server has like this person with just the mental of a fucking like solid steel cube, where like they're out there at like twice the games of the person that like
is
Kawako? No, it's not Kawako. So the thing is like every server has the person like Kawako, and it was like Kawako, Rico Rex, and I forget who on APAC, where they play a lot of games. They don't have a phenomenal win rate, but they don't have a bad win rate. Like, they're just a high volume player with a reasonable win rate. There is someone on every server with like twice their games and like a 40% win rate. And I'm like,
but do they have LP?
No, they're like hard stuck 0. But like these people have the mental just of a brick wall. Like,
okay, who in NA? I need to know who NA has like the most games.
I'd have to go look it up, but like it's not Kawako. I remember that because I saw Kawako and I like filtered out Kawako because I was like saying Kawako like has the most games played and doesn't have a fantastic win rate. That could be seen as toxic. I'll spare him the penalty. But like these people, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are these people's mental? Like,
wait, is it Simon on EU?
No, like these people are not like well known in the community. They're like late night ladder degens that play a bunch and lose mostly.
But like Simon has also good mentality, like losing how much LP he lost in one day, like 700?
500.
500,
yeah.
He
lost 500 and lost not only his 7-2 seeding, but lost his world's qualification. Right?
Ichiran wins Aikado. Like, these people just don't win. Like, they're like 10,000 games played at a 40% win rate in Masters. Like, what are we doing?
We just gaming.
Yeah, they're
kind of pissed, honestly.
I mean, they definitely have the strongest mental. Like, could you imagine like playing probably triple your LOR games and having like half the wins?
On the day I have like the day I'm sitting here grinding, like my Saturdays are usually my free day where I have like just all day to sit there and play. When I sit there and just play, I play like maybe 70 games. I think the most when I was grinding for seasonal points, I had an overnight job at a hotel, which is just sit there and bench. Like, you do nothing for 8 hours. So I played LOR for 8 hours straight, and I played LOR like when I was home because I was home. And I played like 100 games in a 24-hour span, and I wanted to die.
That's hurting numbers. You know, like COVID, when was COVID, I think? I had like 160 games in one day.
I remember I watched Alan. He was like 24-hour stream, LP gaining stream. He played like over 150 games or something. By the way, ended like 2 games positive, so he could have just won 1 game and then saved himself 23.5 hours.
I would like to just kind of like ask, because like I have a survey running. It'll probably be, I'm probably going to stop it in like the next 2 days. But like people seem to enjoy this meta more than the last one. We don't have enough data points, but like
it's a good one.
I mean, I will say, like, the meta seems to be, like, Karma, Samira decks.
Yeah, Samira decks. Have you looked at stats?
Bad stuff? Like...
But it's fun.
It's fun, yeah, it's great. I love it.
Like, enjoy it.
Dude, if you go to stats, because I was making a point earlier on my stream, I was like, oh yeah, if you go to stats right now, Filter Master's highest win rate, 5 out of the top 6 decks will be Samira decks. And I wasn't exaggerating. I know this because I checked yesterday. I went and I looked. 7 out of the top 8 decks were Samira decks. And then the one deck that wasn't was basically a Samira deck, just missing Samira. It was ridiculous.
Samira. I mean, Samira's like a little messed up.
Yeah,
like,
if you go to like win rates, like was that 1, 2, 3? Like literally count how many you have to go until you don't find a Samira deck.
It was that. Yeah, and there's two like just missing Samira decks in here.
Exactly. It's like you literally go like I think it's 8, and then 7 out of the 8 are Samira decks, and then the one that isn't is like Leona Diana, which most people just take out the 3 Dianas and put in the 3 Samiras. Like if you go to ladder right now, if you have LOR open, out of the top 16 players, 2 of them aren't playing Samira. It's like Ichiro and Ramen. No, I think maybe 3.
Ichiro and Ramen, what a goat. What a goat. Yeah. The savior of this meta.
Look at this, man. Samira. Like, it might be different on LOR or AR because it's more updated, but I know in client, out of the top 16, it was 2 players that weren't playing Samira.
Yeah. So, apparently it's like down to 1, but like Americanas like loves his like Demacia nonsense.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous how overtuned Samira is.
That's you. Jesus Christ, Shumpo, why are we playing Nami?
Yeah.
Nami Jack SI?
This guy is like, honestly, people call me a Burblefish simp. People call me a Burblefish simp. Shumpo might be more of a Burblefish simp.
Yeah, I think so. He played like every time, like he's having some Burblefish, and he's always like first as well. Like, yeah.
What is this Mickey Mouse ass region where you guys are getting dominated by 200 LP on Nami Jack SI? Like, what is this actual Mickey Mouse region, dude? Your 4th ranked guy is a Mono Annie PNZ Nox?
That's the 50% win rate guy. That's the 50% win rate.
Brother.
Like, what is fucking Mickey Mouse ass region, man?
Yeah, but that was funny thing, like on Samira, like I saw Alan building like, you know, the PNZ Noxus, right? It was like PNZ Noxus, right? And it was like, okay, I'm gonna play Samira now, and I was like, okay, I think that they're gonna be good because you playing Samira. But if you're not playing Samira, you know, is it better to put her like in other deck, right? Like, isn't it just better? Don't you just waste it? You're gonna win a lot of games because you're playing the best champion. I would say honestly, Samira's like on level with Leona because I think Leona is giga busted. But...
I think I think Leona's super busted. I just think like Samira is clearly the best champion in the game. But...
I can see that. Yeah, I allowed this making like Leona. Allowed this.
It's pretty weird how my opinions flipped because like at the start of the season I was like, Jesus Christ, Riot fucked up because like All Out is like the 2nd best card in the game, and you gave it as a champ spell to like the best card in the game. My opinion is flipped, and now it's like, holy shit, Samira's like super busted, and you gave her as her champ spell the best card in the game. Like, All Out's the best card in the game. Like,
yeah.
It's insane.
Okay. As far as like nerfing Fizz Samira, some of this stuff is more complicated, but like, can we just get All Out of the Burble pool? Like, make it cost 2, plunder to 1. Like, nobody ever casts that thing on active and is happy about it, but like, why do you have to play games against Fizz Samira where they're like, I drew 7 all-outs this game, and you're like, ugh.
And then you watch it open, and you see imagined opponent having 2 blood baits and jetties.
Yeah.
Like,
I watched Icado sit there and flip out fucking Elixir of Wrath, Elixir of Wrath, Elixir of Wrath. And I was like,
I don't know, like, the games where, like, your Father Furies and you're like, I had a game today, I was trying to get rank 1 back, and I successfully did, but my opponent's playing a Lowy, and their turn 3 was Voice of the 3/3 that like gives your tentacle over 1. Their turn 4 was Lowy.
Voice or something.
A pretty good play into Fizz Samira. I had Fizz on 1, and on turn 4, when they play a Lowy, I went Stylish Shot, Father Fury. And they were like, okay, this is a lot of damage. I'm going to Cataclysm 1. And so they Cataclysmed 1, and I went Elixir of Wrath all out. Prize Fight your Lowy, so it dies to my 2/1, cracking for 13. Go, and my opponent's at 2, and I have a Stylish Shot. My opponent just 13'd me on turn 4, like with the Lucents.
I don't understand how Samira Fizz is. I don't know RPGs. They could probably fill us in here because they're in chat of what their ban strategy was. But I don't understand the people that just didn't ban Samira Fizz in the open.
They
just like let it go. And I just watched them win. Like Aikado, like obviously Aikado's a very good player, right? I'm not trying to say, oh, he got carried by Samira Fizz, but like he's a very good player on a very good deck. And they just sat there and like didn't ban it, and he just like won out of his ass over and over and over again. And then I just watched other people win out of their ass over and over again.
It's the same thing that happened with Tia Fizz, where people would convince themselves that the game was close because it kind of looked close, and it was like this deck just robs people. That's all it does. Like you'll look at it and you're like, I got them to 2, like it was fine. It's like,
yes,
you just get robbed. Like this deck just breaks into your house, takes your deodorant, and like leaves you with no underwear, and you're just like, what happened?
It's honestly the mental game of just they think like I got high roll. Like the amount of times I played against Tank, scrimmed him, and he goes, "Oh, like that's not like an average draw," or like, "Oh, you like high roll," like, "Oh, you like had this," and like I'm like, "No, Tank, like this is happening like over and over and over."
I nearly tweeted at some point where people were like people complain about like the double all-out draws, and it's like they play like 5 and ways to produce more. Like that isn't a high roll. That's just the game, and like this deck is fucked. Like,
also, like I didn't ban it. I had the same strategy as Aikado, and the reason was because I kind of don't respect like average player on it. You know? And that was like because
I think that's everyone's take I've heard, right?
Yeah, it was playing ladder and like gauntlets, everything, even playing against some people. Like, man, the people are not good at the deck, and if I know that my average opponent is not gonna be good on it, I'm gonna keep him. Then that's why I banned like Karma Sett, because I think Karma Sett is much easier deck to play, much easier to navigate it, because you just need to wait till turn 10 and you just win the game.
Yeah, that's the exact argument I heard a lot, especially when I was scrimming again, like with Tank. I'd scrim with him, play with him, and he would like not ban Samira. He's like, oh, I'm gonna ban Karma Sett. And I'm like, and he told me that P-Tash actually told him that like P-Tash was running the same lineup as us, and P-Tash was like, yeah, I'm probably just gonna ban like Karma and play into Burbles. And I told him, I was like, dude, this deck is like not balanced. Like, please just ban Samira Fizz. I was like, listen to me, listen to like Micah. And then Tank's response, which is everyone's response, is like, well, I'm not playing against Micah. Like, I'm not playing against you guys. Like, I'm playing against the average ladder. And like, sure, man, like the average ladder player has a hard time into Ash Noxus 50% of the time because they forget Reckoning's a card. You know, like I understand that and I respect that, but like to me, that mentality is just so like to me.
I can see that, but yeah, I was like expecting Karma Sett a lot because I think the deck was like so stupid and doing stupid thing, and
Karma Sett's
I expected Karma Sett a little bit more, but I think overall Fizz is better than Karma Sett, but I said so I was like, I want to play Seraphine, and I do believe that Seraphine is like very good into Fizz Samira, when into Karma Sett is just losing. So also was the reason.
I think Karma Sett is like a very powerful deck that can be played well, but I think if your opponent is a very good player, then Karma Sett is not a good deck. I think like obviously Karma Sett's doing very broken things on like turn 10 with coins, with drawing, and all this stuff. But we also saw multiple times where if a good player is against Karma Sett, they don't do the thing where it's like, oh, just like survive 4 attacks and then you're good. It's like, I'm just going to set up one big attack where you don't have the mana to spend constantly. It's like, oh, I'm gonna like Mystic Shot this, I'm gonna chump block this, like use my mana up to like turn 9 and then survive. It's like I'm just gonna pass a lot, set up for this like turn 7 attack, where it's like you have at most like 8 mana because you've probably played something previously, but now you have to deal with like a 6 wide board of big units on only 8 mana, which is much different than spending 2 mana here, 4 mana here, 2 mana here.
I kind of gave a show yesterday how to play against the deck, like in the final. I think he there was the semifinals. Oh, what it was? It was against Aikado. So he was like showing how to play it.
I spend probably not a wise amount of time on the LOR subreddit because I actively try and engage with the subreddit because I think it will be helpful for the subreddit, if not my mentor.
What if I misplay?
It is not a wise choice. I will tell you that. However, I do think it is worthwhile if you're a competitive player to try and engage with the subreddit. Don't do it at like massive to your mental health, but like I think we do it a disservice by just refusing to engage, and so I try and engage a little bit.
We'll let you engage for us.
Okay, that's fair. I will say, Sett Karma is like the most complained about deck that I have ever seen since Aziralia. And like,
Wow.
I don't think it deserves that level of complaint. Like, I think most of the time people are frustrated because they're like, I continued to play the game after my opponent had Karma, place your bets. And it's like, just concede. Like, I can tell you how this game is going to end, and I can tell you that it's going to be really frustrating along the way. Just move on.
Yeah, my thing is like people complain about Karma's Sett a lot of times when it's not even Karma's issue. Where like I'll watch someone and play like Sett on turn 7, flip Sett on like 8, get the spell on 8, and like take over the game, and then it hits turn 10 and they do Karma, place your bets, and they're like, oh my god, Karma deck's so broken. It's like, no, dude, like this Sett solo won the game 3 turns ago.
It's also like particularly bizarre because people are sitting there and like complaining about what Karma has always done. Like, you reach turn 10 with Karma and you're like kind of stable, and like the game just ends. Like they're dead. Like always.
It's just that I think this deck kills you kind of faster.
Yeah, it's like,
it,
unironically, it's a better Karma deck than like we've seen Karma decks where like the win condition was like palm beatdown, and like that's a miserable
like your
one.
19th pack your bags or something like that.
And it's
they're
like
just taking on their own Karma would go hard at that point.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting
But
here.
let's be honest, like Karma should have gone away with rotation. Let's be honest, like on that topic. I think like
okay, what does like Ionia have if you take out Karma?
I get it, but that's the same with true with action. I get it.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few regions that I think have like really unhealthy situations. Bandle City just has like nothing going on. I don't know if you saw this.
Ionia has Karma, Targon has Leona.
Shurima just doesn't exist.
Yeah, because action sucks kinda now, I would say.
Well, he doesn't have Absolver, man. Like,
yeah.
That was the champion.
I mean, you can play Cultists. They're okay. But like Cultists moved over to Samira, and like that's definitely the better Cultist decks. I think it's a worse.
Every time I play like action, I'm like, okay, where's my challenger? Where's my like. Yeah.
I mean, Akshan's still fine, but like Shurima's just such a mopey region at this point, and it's like.
Don't play Infinite, by the way. Shadox convinced me to play Infinite for my Gauntlet run today because it was Eternal Infinite Champions. He handed me a deck list that. Okay, so how do you win with Infinite? If you were to build an Infinite deck right now, what would you put in as your win conditions?
I'd probably just play the like 3 attack spell or whatever.
The 3 attack spell.
The 3 attack spell.
Yeah. So like you have that even, you have Absolver even, you have like infinite zillion time bombs if you want. This dude sends me one that has 0 promising features, 0 way to like actually double your spell for the turn. You have to like manually reactivate it 3 times, and then you win with the new duplicate guy that just duplicates himself. The only way for you to actually duplicate the spell is to literally re-proc Warlord's Horde by playing units and shit like that.
No.
Yeah, I was like, dude.
Okay, I miss Infinite, honestly. I would love Infinite back. Infinite was so good.
That deck was never good.
It was good. For 2 days.
So I will tell you, you spent more time winning with Infinite than losing. Yes. I will not make a similar claim about your win rate, but there was more time being spent winning games.
I think I had the biggest win rate of all Infinite players. I think 55%.
If I am... if you're going 55% with a deck, it ain't good. I mean, if we average your win rate over time, I do think you've got like a 70 or 75%.
Yeah, you should be getting more LP if you're winning more time. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, more of the time you are winning than losing.
Oh my lord.
It is probably an enjoyable deck to play as long as your opponent doesn't scoop when they're dead, because you get to like do a lot of things and you get to win for a lot.
Yeah. So I guess like for closing, because we're getting kind of close to like hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to open up to any viewer questions?
I will take questions if people have them. I saw stuff and I tried to like respond to stuff as stuff came in, but
yeah, we can have some questions. Also, I'm gonna tell you that this podcast is gonna be on my YouTube, so you know, some people ask me, ask us for, so I'm gonna publish on my new YouTube, Smile.
Yeah, go subscribe to Baya's YouTube.
Nope, nobody asked him that. He just wants to plug his YouTube. No one asked him about his YouTube.
Thoughts on the timer issue? I would strongly hope that we fix the timer issue and make it impossible, but I do not believe the player should be punished. I think it is like slightly scummy behavior, and like I would not encourage people to do it, but I would not punish the player in the slightest. So.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like skirting like timer rules, like getting timed out always sucks. Playing for timer from like minute 1 is like suspect, but like it's in the rules.
My look at it is if it is genuinely like the highest EV way to win the game and you're not breaking any rules, like you can do it. Is it scummy? Yes. Does it make you an asshole? You know, probably yes. Does it put all these bad things like on you? Sure, but like at the end of the day, you're competing for $40,000. You're competing for this like extremely like prestigious title. Like, yeah, I would, you know, try to do whatever it took to win. I hear people's takes is like you should be like Akato's take often is like you should be playing to win the game, and it's like that's what I'm doing. I'm not playing cards to win the game, but I am like playing to win by playing for the timer.
I don't mind playing for timer. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and advocate for like the really bad timer abuse, which I think we did see in like at least one of the games. But I place essentially 100% of the blame on Riot at that point. Where like the timer is broken, it's super abusable, and like it probably shouldn't be that abusable. So
I think a long time though. I think luckily we haven't had a matchup where the genuine win con is timer, where like sometimes on like I've never played like Magic the Gathering online, like not arena but online. There were some matchups where there's an auto key to just pass basically. There's a button where you can just set to auto pass permanently, and you didn't have to click. And there were some matchups where there was no win condition, and you literally just sit there and click that button to auto pass, and it just came down to like who the timer decided like lost.
I remember Grixis teachings, which is like an absurdly hardcore control deck in Pauper would like always come down to timer, and it came down to timer in game 1. Like from the literal moment you queue into the game, you're just like, okay, this game is coming down to timer, and like your goal was to try and avoid things that sunk time on your clock. So like you would just counterspell random shit to get it out of your hands, so the system didn't ask you if you wanted to respond.
Discard a hand or something.
Yeah, you're just like fucking get these cards out of my hand as fast as possible.
Yeah. And I don't think LOR has had a matchup like that. I think we've had pretty close ones, but most of them you can play for deck out. Luckily, which was like a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've had a legitimate matchup where playing for timer is a thing. I think if that ever does, I think like playing for timer is fine. I think like if, for example, if there's like karma deck, if there's a karma deck that can't actually kill you, right? I think like it's reasonable to try and play for a timer where like if all you're gonna do is sit there and shuffle infinite karmas into your deck, you're not gonna deck out. Like it's kind of whatever. But luckily we have not had that yet, so it's not a real case. It shouldn't really be something up.
Yeah.
But
I have to say, like LOR, the devs, I think this is intentional, so I'll credit the devs. There's a term in Magic called garbage time, where you're playing a control deck, and the control deck has won the game, but the control hasn't found their win condition yet. And you are just kind of like shuffling cards around. No real game is occurring. We know who's going to win, but the game isn't over yet. And LOR has really tried to cut down on garbage time from control decks. Control decks win games. You have like Darkness, where it's like the only time Darkness can kind of end up in garbage time is if for some reason Vagar isn't leveled, and you just refuse to play units, and they're like attacking you with a Vagar for 1. And I'm like, I guess this is my plan. They're really, it seems like they're really trying to cut down on that, and like the control decks will win the game once they've won. But like I remember so many games with Magic. I remember specifically in a regional Pro Tour qualifier that I played, I was playing a hardcore control deck that's win condition was milling the opponent out, which nobody. No, I was playing 4-color Sifter Worm because it was a 3-player unified standard event. So like, even if you played Magic, you probably don't know this deck. But I was playing a hardcore control deck where the only win condition was mill, and it did not have very good ways of milling the opponent. You were mostly naturally milling them.
Which was passing for like 50 turns.
Yeah. And I remember realizing I'd won the game. It was game 1. I had won. And I remember looking up at the round clock and realizing that we were 35 minutes into a 50-minute round. So in 15 minutes, the round is going to end. And I remember just looking at this and being like, I could mill my opponent for like 20 cards right now and get this game over with. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make my opponent realize what I'm doing and concede to get to game 2. Or I will win game 1 and leave him with 2 minutes to tie the match. And he will not be able to do that. And my opponent didn't realize what was happening. Game 1 ended at 47 minutes, and we went to game 2, and we got 3 turns in, and time was called, and he lost the match. And I was just like, this is like the shittiest experience I could possibly imagine, where like my opponent didn't realize that I was doing this, and they just lose the match for it. Like, they could have tried to 2-0 me. But...
Yeah, and I think that's like an issue that a lot of players have when they have issues with timer clock. I think there's literally no excuse for you to get timered most of the time. I think most of the time, if you're getting timered, it's because at some point you lost it. Because they also have to win game 1, right? So it's not even like they can run the timer out and then it like you have a chance. It's literally like you have lost game 1 and they know you've lost game 1, just like in Micah's scenario. But the difference is they're not going to show you, like, there's a times I played Karma Sett, and I just don't show my opponent I have Karma or, like, Sett in play, and I just pass and give them, like, hope. Even though they have, like, no Setts left in their deck, and they have 1 Karma left in their deck, and have 10 cards in hand. Like, what scenario can you come up with where your opponent has 10 cards in hand and cannot kill a Karma? You know, or something like that. And it's just like, you just need to learn when to concede, save yourself 30 minutes of time, and then go to the next game. Like, if you're sitting there playing out against these decks where you have, like, 1 card in hand, like, no board, they have 10 cards in hand, and just are refusing to kill you, you should know what they're doing and just concede. Like, just go to the next game.
I remember, so there's a really cool statistics site for Magic called MTG ELO Project that, like, tracks a bunch of stuff. Everybody's won in, like, competitive MTG for forever. And there's a really funny statistic of unintentional draw streaks, which is not how frequently people have unintentionally drawn. It is how long someone has gone without unintentionally drawing. I remember one guy in particular because he was a really prolific player. He's kind of quit Magic for various nebulous reasons, called Owen Turnwald, who has played an outrageous amount of Magic. Played far more than like many pro players. He has a streak of never going to time, never getting an unintentional draw, running since 1999.
Yeah.
Your draws are your fault, not anything else.
Yeah, I think people just need to learn when to concede, and that's like, I think it just comes down to like fundamentals, know like how you've lost the game, when you've lost the game. I understand and respect like, hey, this is a tournament, this is my top cut, like I'm gonna make my opponent kill me because they might mouse slip or they might like do this, but it's like, if you know you have lost the game and losing to timer will lose you the match ultimately, like, just save yourself the stress and like just go to the next game.
Yeah, timer is a thing that you should manage, and like, I don't know,
I think they should change it definitely. I think like that.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
Europe turn like game 1, and then like you have no punish in game 2 at all. Like that shouldn't be a thing. I think like the timer should just add on from the start and do like having your raw match timer starting from the.
I would strongly prefer chess clocks. So strongly prefer chess clocks. And the main thing that frustrates me constantly is if I play against someone and they are playing slow, I feel I am obligated to play slow to prevent them from stealing my time. Or like, if I play at my natural pace, my opponent will use 60 or 70% of the time in the clock. Where like, I remember, because I got like Twitter drama about it, I timed out Deech. And Deech molded on Twitter about me timing him out. And I remember going back and looking at it, and I used 16 minutes of the 55 minutes that match. Where like, it was 40 minutes of Deech and 16 minutes of me. I guess 39 and 16. And it's like, that ain't my fault. You are the reason we went to time.
Yeah, I definitely think the clock should be changed. I don't think anyone is arguing that the clock shouldn't be changed. I think it should definitely be changed. But at the same time, I don't think we should blame players for using the clock to win. I think it's just like a tool you have to win the game. It's not exploiting. It's not whatever. It's working as intended. Now, if they were exploiting the clock somehow, understand. Like, if maybe you're not supposed to get game 1 win if game 2 goes to time, sure. But like, because everything is working as intended, you're playing with what the game gives you. Like, in my opinion, that's just a strategy you can implement, and if you choose so, accept the consequences that come with it of like the social consequences. But I mean, get that top cut, man. Like, get that tournament win. Like, we just saw someone get a opening win with it. Like, fucking get it.
Fitz, I would definitely say that like clock punishes certain decks more than others, but I very seriously believe that if you're consistently going to time, that is your fault. Like, They give you enough time to finish your matches regardless of what deck you play. The only exception I would give is, like, for people like Rusticles. If you don't know, Rusticles suffers from some muscular disorder, but I don't remember which. But he plays with his eyes. He plays with an eye tracker. And he's complained about this meta specifically because a lot of the best decks are very action intensive, which is very difficult for him. So, like, he can't play Karma Sett because it takes too many actions on critical turns. He can't play Varus decks because they take too many actions. He can't play most Samira decks. He can play, like, Leona Samira, but, like, any of these, like, 7 to 8 actions a turn, he just cannot play. It is very difficult for him to play, and he's like, this meta is, like, very unpleasant for me, and I don't really have a solution. So, for people like Rusticles, I think it's very fair to be like, the clock is just different for me, and it's not really fair. But, like, if you were playing with, like, a mouse or on a phone, like, you're playing like most people do, and you're going to time consistently, that is your problem. That is not anybody else's problem. You should play faster. So, and I'm sure Rusticles is not the only one. I think Rusticles is the highest, like, competitive person with, like, that experience. But, like, muscular disorders are not, like, that uncommon. Other people do deal with this problem. So.
Like, how is Peter talking about the banking? You actually bank a little. You can bank, like, early sometime.
If you don't, early game, if you click, like, go fairly early or click OK early, it actually shows you, like, a little hourglass telling you have, like, time banked, basically, just like in Magic. It's just the difference is Magic literally shows you have a time bank, and LOR is just like, it pops up a little bit telling you, oh, you, like, bank time, but doesn't actually show you your time bank, unlike Magic. But,
I mean, I'd prefer just chess clock. Say, like, you've got 55 minutes to finish the match, so let's split that evenly into, like, 27 and a half, 27 and a half. I think it's fair to say that, like, we'll give you, like, I don't know, 5 minutes, like 5 minutes for game 1, 5 minutes for game 2, and then, like, a big chunk of time that I'm not doing this correctly, but, like, chunk of time for game 1, chunk of time for game 2, and then, like, reserve some time for game 3, so you don't end up with these, like, stupid pass wars, which, like, we've seen in time scrambles in LOR. I remember them from Magic a lot more, where, like, game 3 is just about clicking spacebar faster, because, like, the timer is going to run out, and you're just trying to, like, not be the one to lose. I think it's fine to say, like, save some time for game 3, save some time for game 2, so these things don't occur, but I'd much rather see that.
Do you guys think Riot will change the clock? Like, what would you give the percent chance of the clock actually changing?
I mean,
it's a long time now. Like, it's been a while. It's like a year and longer, right? Since we, like, had the first issues, like Lobster losing to it, sorry, lost to it.
I do think this is, like, probably the highest profile one. Simply because, like, the winner is known to have used it.
Well, it was in semifinals of season, though. The Sorry thing. Sorry lost semifinals because
it was streamed. This thing was not streamed, and, like, you only know about it if you're, like, following competitive.
Yeah, I would have hoped that
it's the furthest anyone's, like. I think the difference is one was, like, timer abusing, and one just, like, lost to timer.
So
is, like, the biggest difference.
I think almost none of the things that people complained about previously with timer actually were, like, bad timer abuse. It was just, like, timer came up, and, like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that, like, I like it when games are decided by time, but, like, I remember Yamato versus Allen had, like, a big timer scramble in, like, game 3 of the finals of Worlds, but, like, that was both players playing slow. There was no timer abuse. It was just 2 slow players used most of the time. And, like, my guess is Riot's probably not happy when that happens in, like, a super high profile way, but that doesn't motivate someone to change the rules. It's just kind of like, okay, timer came up, and, like, we'd like it to not. But, like, this is the first time I think we've had high profile timer abuse, where someone is, like, playing full clock.
Yeah, like, we've had that in, like, community terms, but nothing like this high. BaJAtak says, like, will there ever be an argument to go to extra turns like Magic does? I mean, we get extra time. We get extra 5 minutes. If the timer runs down to 0, you get an additional 5 minutes to play. So it's like, that's basically turns, in a way. Like, and then it's like if you have the lowest time, so your opponent can't really still abuse that, because for you to lose on time at the very end, you have to be behind on clock. So if you go into extra time 5 minutes behind the opponent, you deserve to lose that 5 minutes to clock. And that's just like my opinion on how that should go.
Yeah, some people are talking about Lobster. Lobster's situations was very different. No one was abusing timer. The timer just like unexpectedly didn't quite sync up the way people thought it would. Like people ended up with a few more seconds than anybody thought they had, and then all of a sudden a different person won than was expected. And like that sucks. That really sucks for Lobster, but that wasn't someone abusing timer. That was like timer having a bug.
The timer was at like 5 seconds, then it jumped to like 8 seconds, and then a champion leveled and took the last like time or something. That was just weird. And it was all caught, like you watch the replay and you could just see the timer change from 10 seconds to 12 seconds or something. And like they just like randomly the timer gained 2 seconds, and you're just like,
don't know what's going on.
You're just like, what happened?
But that type of stuff doesn't motivate like a system change, because like that isn't the system being broken. That is like a bug happening, and it's like, okay, we should probably fix the bug, but like it's not like I'm sitting here being like, oh, I need to overhaul the entire timer system.
What the?
So
guess we covered everything, I assume.
Yeah, I think we're done. We went.
Hopefully you had fun. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.